Start now.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Just a second, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hari Om Tatsat. So Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for today's morning Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam summary class. Today we are to discuss the fourth canto, 28th chapter, the first half. This chapter seems to have 65 verses, so maybe we should do some 32 verses, is what I was thinking. So let's start with that. So as usual, I will read the first one in Sanskrit, then we will only read the translation of the subsequent verses. Narada Uvacha Sainika Bhayanam Ye Barhisman Dishta Karinaha Prajvara Kala Kanya Bhyam Vicherur Avanim Imam. Translation. The great sage Narada continued, My dear king Prachina Barhishat. Afterwards, the king of the Yavanas, whose name is fear itself, as well as Prajvara, Kalakanya and soldiers began to travel all over the world. So this chapter is entitled, the Canto is entitled The Creation of the Fourth Order. In that, the chapter, 28th chapter we are looking at, is called Puranjana became a woman in the next life. So we have been discussing about our friend Puranjana for I think at least 3-4 weeks possibly. This Puranjana is supposed to be a imaginary character, not a real one. And this character is being used by Narada Muni to teach, or rather awaken King Prachina Barhisat about what he is doing in life. He is literally wasting his human form of life and a life which is got after many pious activities and getting a very good life as a very good king. Such a great person that his sons had darshan of Lord Shiva and took instructions from him. You should be really blessed to have such children. So he is really done great things, but then he is more now into the Karma Kanda portions of the Vedas, where he is more and more trying to do more ritualistic activities to get, I don't know if you want to call it punya, and have better and better material lives. So Narada Muni, being compassionate, he comes to him and tries to awaken his consciousness. So he takes this character called Puranjana, who is but tells him, I will tell you a story of a king who lived some time back, and his name was Puranjana. He starts like that. And he is literally telling the story of this Prachina Barhishat only. And in that way, he is making him understand that, what is life, what is the purpose of life, why should not one waste their life, what he should achieve at the end of one's human life and all that. So this conversation has been going on for few chapters actually. So now we are at a stage where Narada Muni is coming to taking this character towards his last days, towards the death. So this chapter describes about the the last few days when what happened in the life of this Puranjana and what he goes through at the time of death, and then subsequently what life he got. What is the concept of this birth and death, and how does the next life, how next body is determined, and such things are being touched upon here. I remember in this same sections we were doing once how a child is born. So the 10 months, the journey of the child inside the womb of the mother. So Sri Hari Prabhu had made a video of that, and I think he posted it, like all the various sections in quick snapshots like that he made. So now I am now getting an opportunity to talk about the death of the body. So the birth of the body and the death of the body, and in between whatever happens we have been seeing, and our life also. So now let's see this particular chapter and related things. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tamsa Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvise Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Prabhupada is saying this period of life just before death is very dangerous, because he's writing, this is the time when the man or woman, the jiva is at its weakest and is attacked by many diseases, many kinds of diseases. So here, as I said, this is an imaginary story and there are characters. So he's saying these very soldiers that are there, mentioned, they were all trying to attack in this verse. Those soldiers are considered to be the various diseases. And these diseases are all guided by the king of the Yavanas, and it is being mentioned that he is feared, who acts as the commander in chief. So this is the situation where a person is so getting old. We start having so many diseases. There's a lot of discussion here about like old age, what all happens. So sometimes we think, okay, why all these things, but then this is very important because we take these things for granted. But one needs to be mindful, this will come to me also. Many people when they are young, we think life is all about enjoyment, let's enjoy life. So Prabhupada is writing, when a man is young, he does not care for old age but enjoys sex to the best of his satisfaction, not knowing that at the end of his life, his sexual indulgence will bring on various diseases which so much disturb the body that one will pray for immediate death. You see, many people when they are old, oh Lord, why don't you take me away now only? Right? I'm going through so many difficulties. We are seeing this many times. I have seen many people. I have seen a lot of deaths also, physically, like people dying right in front of me also. But sometimes many people go through so much of pain and frustration. They say, why don't you take me away? They may not believe in God, but they will still at that time say, oh Lord, why don't you take me away? Such is the condition. And Prabhupada writes this very powerful thing. He writes, the more one enjoys sex during youth, the more he suffers in old age. So, these things, these are statements, very powerful statements. So one needs to be mindful and use it to the best of our advantage. Next verse. Once the dangerous soldiers attacked the city of Puranjana with great force. Although the city was full of paraphernalia for sense gratification, it was being protected by the old serpent. So the city of Puranjana is his body, right? The body of the imaginary character Puranjana, and this is called the city. And all the soldiers and all the paraphernalia for sense gratification is all the senses, right? All the different senses that are there. And it was being protected by the old serpent. And who is that serpent? And Prabhupada gives different things in the serpents, but all of them, relatively, sometimes he mentions the serpent as the subtle body, sometimes he is mentioning them as the, the vital air inside, the things like that. So here he is referring to the vital air. Is being talked about as the vital air. So Prabhupada is saying, according to the Vedic system, before coming to such a stage, that means at the stage of death, one should leave home and take sannyasa to preach the message of God for the duration of life. But if we chose to sit at home and is being served by the beloved wife and children, he certainly becomes weaker and weaker due to sense gratification, right? Sense gratification is in various ways, not only sex life, but simply enjoying the tongue, enjoying the, so many things. People keep on sitting and watching television, you will watch today, there are so many options, right? 4D, 8D, what is that? 4K, 8K, 16K, 24K, whatever K. And the clarity and stuff like that, and the idea to watch the big screens, and so many apps for watching so many different movies. So all of this is imaginary. Oh, this is so nice. So for the eyes and the mind and the intelligence, so-called intelligence, we keep engaging it in various speculative kind of these movies and other stuffs. Okay, young is one thing, but as people get old, how should one start withdrawing from these illusory things? That is very important. So he's saying, better to leave home. At that stage at least, when you go and dedicate yourself to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then, this Yamaraj, this here that Yavana indicated is none other than the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. So he has no jurisdiction when the person is actually in the path of self-realization in Krishna consciousness. That is very clear. So maybe the person may not be sometimes not completing his cycle of birth and death in that age, even though he's started taking up devotional service and becoming Krishna consciousness. But sometime we may not have achieved perfection, before which we are forced to leave the body by the laws of material nature. But even then, at least, such devotees, it's very clear that they should not be touched. They should be touched by the Yamadutas and put into the cycle of punishment, take them to the, to the Yamaloka, and give them lots of punishment. There are various punishments which are there. Some movie was there, right? I think where they talked about Andhakupi. We have this book where all these things are described very nicely. I think I've done one class one time on that. So it talks about all the, if you are having these kind of desires and you did these things, then you go. So in this case, like someone who's very much attracted to the the opposite sex, more and more indulging in some activities like that, then from that I saw there it is mentioned, and particularly if someone is having illicit kind of things and all that, it is mentioned there will be one pillar which is like a fire. So this fellow will be made to embrace that pillar, and he will be tied to that. He has no chance to get away from it, and he will be scorching with that fire. Of course, this is not the physical body, right? The physical body is dead and is anyway that is being engulfed by the fire. Mostly people burn the bodies. That is okay, because anyway you are not there, so it is simply dead matter. But we are there in the subtle body, right? So the subtle body, through that the pains and pleasures are being felt. So that and it's also there is some process when we go, this is all created. The small hand, leg, everything is created for the journey out there. So that soul is surrounded by a subtle body, and of course some kind of a body. That body is created in the 12 days after the death, and then with that they go on with the journey, and from there, when they reach whatever basic punishments needs to be given. So there are so many things, some things which you can't even think people would have thought about there, at that time. We think that time, right, that it is all olden days. No, it has got, sometimes people do so many abominable things today, which was not generally done in people of, like say 100, 200 years back. At least there's not too much of a talk about such things. I don't want to talk about those kind of things. But today these things are happening. But when we read the book, you do this, you will get. Maybe 500 years back, people are saying, who will do such things? There's nobody, they can't even imagine doing such things. But today these are all accepted. So it's there. Everything is documented, even though that civilization may not have such experience at all. But it is said, if you do this, nobody does these things. Why are they writing these things? One may think. But that is for the future generation, because they will do it. And this scripture knows all of how everybody. Krishna knows the past, present and future. So all the facilities of either rewarding or punishing, everything is already there. There is nothing which is missed by, we didn't realize this. We say, in material life we always say, we do, I didn't realize this will happen, so I should now create a new system to handle this. But in the Krishna's world, there's nothing called, there's something new will come up, so I need to create a new system to handle it. Everything he knows, it is already there. So he says one should leave the home and not be dwelling in the home and taking all sorts of enjoyment. And it says, because if you are sitting at home and you are being pampered by your wife and children and all that, then you tend to get a body which is aligned to that. So Prabhupada is quoting this verse, Yam vapi smaran bhavam chatiti ante kalevaram tam tam yevaiti kaunteya sadhu sada tat bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. This is important. So sitting at the old age only surrounded by family and only thinking about that sense gratification, and naturally we are more and more attached to them, and at the time of death we are only thinking, what happens to my wife, what happens to my son, these so many things like that. Then the die, then I'll get, like if you're thinking in this case, like he's thinking of his wife and dying, he gets a female body. So this is important. Next. Gradually, Kala Kanya, with the help of dangerous soldiers, attacked all the inhabitants of Puranjana cities and thus rendered them useless for all purposes. So, when you become invalid, so attacked by all the senses, all the bodily abilities are all attacked by the soldiers of Yamaduta. Basically these diseases, and they become useless. Therefore Prabhupada says, therefore in the Vedic times the boys are trained to be following brahmacharya and the young age, and that is, he should be completely engaged in the service of the Lord and should not in any way associate with women. When the boy becomes a young man, he marries between the age of 20 and 25. When he is married at the right age, he can immediately beget strong, healthy sons. So Prabhupada is also giving this one. We say, no, XY is chromosomes, like in biology we would have studied in 11th, 12th, I think, 10th, 11th, 12th. The XY chromosomes are there for the man and the woman, and then these XY mix, and if X becomes this one, it becomes a man, something like that. Then it becomes a male boy, and if other one, it is a female child, like that. So Prabhupada is giving this one here. A man who is sexually strong in the relationship between man and woman, then he gets that couple gets a boy. If the woman is strong, then you get a girl. So Prabhupada writes that. And he's saying, like, no more females are there means then the men are not very strong. That's the understanding. And if you really, there are, you will see going forward how these things really work. So he's saying, therefore, it is important that one follows the system of brahmacharya so that one becomes very strong mentally, gets good children. Of course, not that getting women children, girl children is bad or something like that. This Vedic system was that the whole system is the man becomes righteous, then the whole family becomes righteous, and the woman follows nicely the man, and then the whole family, the whole society improves. That kind of thought process is being discussed here. And then he says, after the marriage, they both go to Vanaprastha. That means they leave the home and go. And while the children, all that is being taken, they have the life, because when they marry in 2025, by the time that the man is 50, his son is already 25 years old, roughly. Because there's no family planning those days, right? You marry with the first year, you have a child. And then by the time the guy is 50, you have that son or daughter, whoever it is, 24 years old. So they can take care of their life, because he is about to be married also. So he can, their life starts and you are retired, you can retire. But today we never allow the parents to retire, right? They have to babysit. Mostly the children are in America. So the parents have to take turns to go to America, babysit their grandchildren. So the father-in-law goes. So these are two old people. Now the thing is, they are separated. That way they are getting vanaprastha. So the father-in-law, because America doesn't allow many people at the same time, so they take turns. So the father-in-law goes, he remains there for 6 months, comes back. Then the mother-in-law goes. So this man and women are separated. So they go and come back. And then the girl's parents go. One by one they go. Sometimes they go together also. So they take care. So and then they are very happy. Oh, I went to US, this was nice, that was nice, very thing. And all the social media full of these posts. Nothing wrong, I'm not saying this is wrong, we need to take care of family and all that. But I'm saying how generally it goes from spiritual context. Because when we are above 60, today people don't, I'm not talking about 50-year-old parents here, I'm talking about 60, 70-year-old parents here, right? Because today everything is, the man or the woman marries only when he's 30, 35. So his father is already 65, 70. So after that, these parents have to do all these things. So what I'm saying is, in the process, that the focus is lost for the self-realization of the individual souls. That is what I mean, this is reality of our life. If that is my situation, I may have to do it. I'm not condemning that, because after all, we need to take care of all these things. But Kali Yuga has pushed us into such a situation, is the point I am making. And one needs to be mindful, how do I, even if that is the situation, fine, we can look at it positively, because in America also Prabhupada has created nice Krishna conscious environment, right? People can go there and be part of. I know of also some of these kind of parents who say, oh, I was in America and I came in contact with ISKCON there, and now whenever I go there, for this babysitting activity, they are associated there and they are becoming nice devotees. So this is a different, Prabhupada has changed, used a disadvantage to the advantage. That's Prabhupada's brilliance. But I'm talking about so many who don't get these opportunities. It's very sad situation for them. So after that, when the Vanaprastha gets over, the man actually leaves his wife with the son, and he goes away. At this time of death, he is not in the family. Nobody knows finally how did he die or whatever. He goes to so many places, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, where all these places are there. This is the in Vedic times. I don't know if we can do like that now, but it is there. When Kalakanya, daughter of time, attacked the body, the dangerous soldiers of the king of the Yavanas entered the city through different gates. Then they began to give severe trouble to all the citizens. So different gates, there are 9 gates are mentioned, right? We all know the 2 eyes, the 2 nostrils, the 2 ears, 6, mouth, 7, then the anus and the, the reproductive organ, 9 items. So disease attack in all these 9 holes. So eyes, you can see I'm wearing glasses. So I can't see, variance, levels of not able to see is there. But as we go, when we talk about what is that, when you become 60, that's the first symptom. Lot of people, all of people get this, cataract. So it says here, talks about not cataract specifically, but says the eyes are attacked and they become very weak, you can't see properly. This is what is cataract is. So when that is the symptom, when I'm already 60, I developed cataract, okay. Just take a heart. One doctor said, no worry, just 1.5 hours, 1 hour, you can go back to your normal activities. So maybe because of our scientific development, we think this is all nothing, it's not an impediment. But still that stage comes where I need a cataract, then I am aging. Okay, it's easy to go through a cataract these days. Earlier they couldn't do a cataract also because of science. So there's a layer is formed, the eye is closed. Whether I like it or not, I can't see. Maybe I have to lift like that and see, I don't know. But today that facility is there, we take it for granted. Therefore, I will live eternally. All problems I will solve. But then we don't know, still birth, death, old age disease cannot be solved. Today some people say, no sir, the life expectancy has, they gave a graph from 1930s to 2024. They'll give a graph, that graph is going up. So you see, the life expectancy has increased. Those days people lived for 30 years, now people are living 70 years. We are very proud. You go for this financial planning related seminars, now people show this graph and say how you should take care of your, after retirement, how many years you will live. So then I need to plan because I'm not going to get income. So how do I plan? They show, see boss, you are going to live till 85, so you better invest now. That fellow is breaking his head, how will I save money? I don't have money, what will I do? Oh no, you work more like an ass so that you can prepare for your this one. So we have to work. So this is all there, these techniques, how to make people frightened and work hard and give that investment to life. So many things like this, marketing. So that graph is improved. So we can say, no, this is so Vedic times all. It's not true, because even if you consider, okay, from 40 to 80 it has become. So what? So when someone told this to Prabhupada, the life expectancy is in very less in India, but it is very high in America, like that and all that. What is that? So Prabhupada said. So they said it is like 90% in America, whereas it is 20-30% in. Prabhupada said everywhere it is 0. So ultimately, nobody can say he will live, no. So if you have to say this life expectancy, you can define the way number of years. But Prabhupada's defense, no. Is there anyone who is alive permanently? No, that is 0. Therefore, you can say I will extend it by a few more years. That's fine, So if you see the earlier times, there were these people who lived like Hiranyakashipu and all, lived for thousands of years. So that's fine. But still death has to come. We have to change our body. This is a fact. So sometimes, okay, they have put ventilators, they are saving, okay, you give some, Prabhupada is writing about this in these purports. You give oxygen for the person and making them live for some years. That's okay. How long you will make him live? So now even doctors say after some time, they say, no, there's no point, you take it off. So the family is forced to take off that ventilator. So over, right now you can artificially do all these things for some time, but it is very difficult. And Prabhupada is saying, like, as the nostrils are blocked by mucus, and one will always have to sniff a medicinal bottle containing ammonia. Similarly, the teeth is gone, you have to keep artificial teeth. And he says the rectum also gives one trouble, and the evacuation process becomes difficult. Sometimes one has to take enemas and sometimes use a surgical nozzle to accelerate the passing of urine. In this way, the city of Puranjana was attacked at various gates by the soldier. Thus, in old age, all the gates of the body are blocked by so many diseases, and one has to take help from so many medicines and surgical appliances, Prabhupada writes. Next, when the city was thus endangered by the soldiers of Kalakanya, King Puranjana, being overly absorbed in affection for his family, was placed in difficulty by the attack of Yavana Raja and Kalakanya. So here the concept of this, not only the physical body, that is the gross body, now the concept of the subtle body is also coming into play. So Prabhupada is writing, the proprietor of the body, the living soul, right? We all know this, the Kshetrajna. I think there is this definition, no? Kshetra is the field or the body, and Kshetrajna is one who is knower of the body. All this we know. So the soul which is living inside is also troubled because of this situation of the body. He says becomes very sad at not being able to use the field of activity properly. The soul is not able to, the Kshetrajna is not able to use the Kshetra properly. So he becomes very sad. So very nice example is giving. See, a field, right? We are talking about Kshetra as the field. The body is a field. So you imagine a real field. So in the field, if so many weeds grow, if you are a farmer and you have a land which is the Kshetra, and you are so many weeds are growing, how it will be? You will have to, it's very difficult for you to use that land properly, no? So you have to remove all the weeds and then you have to put in the actual grains and all that. So it is very difficult to work to remove all these weeds. So the same thing with this Atma which is inside this body, he has problem because this Kshetra has become full of weeds. It's very difficult to manage that, live in that kind of a Kshetra. So that is being discussed. Next. When King Puranjana was embraced by Kalakanya, he gradually lost all his beauty. Having been too much addicted to sex, he became very poor in intelligence and lost all his opulence. Being bereft of all possessions, he was conquered forcibly by the Gandharvas and the Yavanas. When a person is attacked by the individuality of old age and is still addicted to sense gratification, he gradually loses all his personal beauty, intelligence and good possessions. He thus cannot resist the forceful attack of the daughter of time. King Puranjana then saw, next verse, King Puranjana then saw that everything in his town was scattered and that his sons, grandsons, servants and ministers were all gradually opposing him. He also noted that his wife was becoming cold and indifferent. So this is also we are seeing now. We are seeing these days, right? When people are young and contributing nicely, everybody loves them. Oh yeah, my uncle, my father, my, they all pamper because he is flooding them, he or she is flooding them with gifts, helping them to gratify their senses nicely. But the same person, either he or she becomes invalid and they need help, that they get attacked, the legs are not working, hands are not working. You need to take them, put them in a wheelchair, push them, take them to the toilet, make them sit there, sometimes even wash them. All these things happen, then everybody, where is my uncle, that niece is missing, that daughter, that son is missing. Many people put them in, as they become old, they put them in old age homes. Over, your use is gone for me, now why I should keep you? These are known story, nothing new with all these things. So, here, those kind of tendencies are seen. Right, old age. I know people, this is, how can my wife, she's been there with me for long, how can you talk like this? There are some people who are very nice, they are perfect couples and all that. But these things happen in many, we are not simply everything is homogeneous, right? There are people of different nature. So not everywhere it is hanky-dory. Many places, in fact 99% it is only some problems. Only 1 or 2% people are nice. But even there is some harsh words used like this. There are examples of, there's one daughter was there. She was already 80 or 85. Not 85, maybe 70 plus. And the father is still living. And he didn't have any other children, so he was living with that lady. She herself has got now 4 or 5 daughters who are all married like that. So that man continues to live. And once he mentioned, I will live 100 years. Then he says, Appa, it's very difficult, I am already 80, 85 and I am struggling, you don't please live till 100. She said it jokingly, but this is a fact, right? So it's not easy. So Prabhupada is saying, therefore, when we have this body which is in good shape, one should not be a kripana, miser. This word you would have seen in Bhagavad Gita, right? There's one verse where it says, one who is not indulging in devotional activity, he is actually a kripana. What is kripana? Kripana, why miser? Miser means in our mind it is only who does not spend money. That means you have resources but you don't spend it. Human form of life is also got that resource to understand who you are, what is the purpose of life, what is the ultimate goal of life, after this life what I should do. So you have resources. But in human form, if you do not use that for that purpose, but simply use it for sense gratification, which is like anybody else who's not rich uses like that. This fellow also, like you have the ability to have a nice car and all that, but you go by bus, public transport. Yeah, it is good environmentally and all that. You can say he's a down-to-earth person. But the other, why you are doing it is important. But if he's because of his kripana mentality, that money needs to be saved, and so I will save this, if I take auto, they will keep calculating every time. They will compare Ola, they will compare Uber, they will compare everything and then take a decision, I will go by bus. But that guy has his bank balance is maybe few crores. So I am talking about such thinking calculation. But if you say, no, it's environmentally thing, I am healthy, let me use the public transport like that, that's a different thought process. But if you are a kripana in this sense, then you have everything, you don't use it. Similarly, the human being who has got the intelligence to understand higher things, if I am using it only for sense gratification, then that is a kripana. So Prabhupada is talking about this, in this verse, that one should not be a kripana because if these things affect at the time of death. But if you are actually, in the path of self-realization, then you won't have to go through the same difficulty one more time. That's the point he's making. Next. When King Puranjana saw that all his family members, relatives, followers, servants, secretaries and everyone else has turned against him, he certainly became very anxious. But he could not counteract the situation because he was thoroughly overwhelmed by Kalakanya. When a person becomes weak from the attack of old age, the family members, servants and secretaries do not care for him. He is then unable to counteract this. Thus he became more and more anxious and laments his frightful condition. So when we see the true side of our relatives, we become more anxious. Oh, how will I survive? What more will happen? Because I don't know. No, I will die tomorrow, day after, I can't say. So I am in a lot of anxiety. The object of enjoyment became stale by the influence of Kalakanya. Due to this continuance of his lusty desires, King Puranjana became very poor in everything. Thus he did not understand the aim of life. He was still very affectionate towards his wife and children, and he worried about maintaining them. We all do that, right? Oh, how will after I die, what will happen? How will my son survive? What is the insurance for my wife? What she will do? All these things. Next. The city of King Puranjana was overcome by the Gandharva and Yavana soldiers, and although the king had no desire to leave the city, he was circumstantially forced to do so, for it was smashed by Kalakanya. So Prabhupada is explaining the entire process of you want to be away from Krishna, therefore you take birth. So the entire concept, how he comes here, all these things are being mentioned here. So he is saying, after that, so you don't want to be with Krishna, so you come, and therefore you are given a chance of a material body, and in that body you enjoy whatever. These very powerful things he is making statement here. So he created these Prajapatis and the different 8.4 million bodies, and we are always attracted to something or the other, and to enjoy that we have to come back and take a different type of a body. So this we are so much conditioned like this, one enjoyment after another, one enjoyment after the other. To do that I can't do in this body, so you get that kind of a body. There it comes, there he is writing one very nice thing. So you take a pig, and pig we all know lives in this in the filthy place. Now you take a pig to a nice place, give it a nice bath and all that, and keep it in that nice garden. The pig will not remain, it will run back to that filth. Similarly, Prabhupada is giving another example of the worm in the stool. Just imagine a worm in the stool. That worm in the stool will only be happy in the stool, not outside of the stool. So this is so much degraded condition of that living entity, that we forget our original nature, and we are so much adjusted to that what we are our condition is. So these various experiences people want to have. There are so many things like this. If you have to think deeply, it becomes very difficult to digest. So Prabhupada is writing, in this way, if we study each and every living entity, we will find that he will defy offers of more comfortable position. So there was this example. I don't want to go into this example because I'm already running out of time. So this once this Indra, right? He was made for a small time. He was given the life of a hog, and when he was so enjoying Indra, such a great, where all opulences he is having, but when he is in this situation, he is enjoying this nicely. And Narada comes and says, now it's time you come back, it's over for you, punishment period, you come back. He says, no, how can I leave this beautiful woman, this pig woman, and my beautiful kids, like that. So this is Indra's saying. So it's very difficult, we get so much condition. So in other words, the living entity, whatever is conditioned, does not want to give up the body, but he will be forced to give it up, because after all this material body cannot exist forever. This is Prabhupada writing this. Next. According to the Vedic system, a dead body is set on fire. The verse. The verse is, under the circumstances, the elder brother of Yavana Raja, known as Prajvara, set fire to the city to please his younger brother, whose other name is fear itself. So there, one of the soldiers of Yamaraj, he is setting fire to the body. What is this fire to the body? So it is, fire means the temperature in the body. So just before death it is mentioned, it is generally, if our body becomes 107 degrees and above, then a living entity cannot live inside that body. That's why even in children and all, when the temperature rises, doctors say immediately reduce it. They develop fits and so many things happen. Even for us, if the degree 103, 104, 104 itself is all too much, not bearable. But if it becomes 107, Prabhupada writes this, I am not saying. Says, this fever is called Vishnu Jwara or Prajvara. That's why this guy is called Prajvara. Who is attacking is called Prajvara, and what he gives is this Vishnu Jwara. Medical science verifies that when one's temperature is raised to 107 degrees, a man immediately dies. This Prajvara or high fever at the last stage of life places the living entity in the midst of a blazing fire. So he's not a dead, but before death the body is put in that condition. When the city was set ablaze, all the citizens and servants of the king, as well as all family members, sons, grandsons, wives and other relatives, were within the fire. King Puranjana thus became very unhappy. Here it is not that actual grandsons and all that of this imaginary character. Here it is when the citizens of that body, That city of Puranjana is his body, and all these grandsons, servants, all that are the different parts inside the body. So they are all under fire, this temperature. Next. The city superintendent of police, the serpent, saw that the citizens were being attacked by Kalakanya, and he became very aggrieved to see his own residence set ablaze after being attacked by the Yavanas. So now this is talking about that city superintendent, right? That is being talked about as the gross body, the subtle body. At death, we can see that the gross body is finished, but actually the living entity is carried by the subtle body to another gross body. So that subtle body, which comprises of the mind, intelligence, and false ego, when this body becomes is unsuitable for any living anymore, then the soul has to exit. That is carried away by these three elements of the body, which are considered as subtle: mind, intelligence, and false ego. So the so-called, Prabhupada, the subtle body has been figuratively described as a serpent or the city's police superintendent. So that is getting ready now. Oh, this grass body is burning. What do I do? Now I need to get away from here. The intelligence and false ego, they are thinking. Next. As a serpent living within the cavity of a tree wishes to leave when there is a forest fire, so the city's police superintendent, the snake, wished to leave the city due to the fire's severe heat. Now we know this, right? When the snakes are inside burrows, whatever. But when there is a forest fire, the snakes tries to run out. Unfortunately, we all know all animals can run away fast. But the snakes, because it crawls, mostly the snakes all are getting burnt out. They cannot escape. The limbs of the serpent's body were slackened by the Gandharvas and Yavana soldiers who had thoroughly defeated the bodily strength. When he attempted to leave the body, he was checked by his enemies. Being thus baffled in his attempt, he began to cry loudly. And Prabhupada here is quoting a nice verse. Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankacham Pancharantam. This verse, it's a very famous verse. My dear Krishna, please help me die immediately so that the swan of my mind may be encircled by the stem of your lotus feet. Otherwise, at the time of my final breath, when my throat is choked up, how will it be possible for me to think of you? So this is the meaning. This is in the Mukunda Mala Stotram, King Kulashekara Alvar sings this thing. Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaja Pancharatnam. So it says Prana Prayane Samaye Kappa Vata Pittaihi. Prana Prayana Samaye, at the time of the death, when I have to leave this body, Prayana, when I have to travel, Kappa Pit Vata Pitta, these things choke my thing, what do you call my thing, and I cannot think of you, I cannot remember you. So very powerful thing. So he says, in old age, at the time of death, the throat sometimes becomes choked with mucus or blocked by air. At such a time, the sound vibration of Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra, may not come out. Thus, one may forget Krishna. Of course, those who are strong in Krishna consciousness cannot possibly forget Krishna at any stage because they are accustomed to chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, especially when there is a signal from death. So, as we get older, we should fix more in Krishna consciousness. King Puranjana then began to think of his daughters, sons, grandsons, daughter-in-laws, son-in-laws, servants and other associates, as well as his household paraphernalia and his little accumulation of wealth. Here, these are the real sons. The Puranjana is a character, but that character had sons. So he is talking about these sons. So we all talk about how do we write will, these kind of things. We need to be planning for that. No? So we are worried, oh, what will happen, what will happen, what will my son do, what my... King Puranjana was overly attached to his family and conception of I and mine. Because he was overly attracted to his wife, he was already quite poverty stricken. At the time of separation, he became very sorry. Prabhupada writes, when you are attached to the wife, see, basically the word stri means expansion. So, through the stri we are expanding, right? You know, the minute the brahmacharis, they say, no, bachelorhood, people talk about the last, what is that? Before marriage, they say the last party, something like that. But after that, now when the family comes, then he is more only with the family. He cannot go with his old friends and all that story. And once you come into the family, then the expansion starts. Expansion, you know, physically in terms of more children, yes, but also about our other needs for running the family. So you start planning for a house, you start planning for vacation, you start planning for so many things. Extension of that, you know, now my son's in-laws family, you know, so this keeps on expanding. You know, that expansion is through the association with the opposite sex. You can say that for both man and woman. Attachment to family members become very prominent at the time of death. One often sees that just before leaving his body, a man may call for his beloved son to give him charge of his wife and other paraphernalia. He may say, my dear boy, I am being forced to leave. Please take charge of the family affairs. He speaks in this way, not even knowing his destination. I don't know where I am going, but I am now worried about what will happen to my family. King Puranjana was anxiously thinking, alas, my wife is encumbered by so many children. When I pass from this body, how will she be able to maintain all these family members? Alas, she will be greatly harassed by thoughts of family maintenance. Right? So this we all think, advertisements say, right? Oh, you plan for your death, even when you are 20, 21, so that your family can live peacefully. King Puranjana then began to think of his past dealings with his wife. He recalled that his wife would not take her dinner until he had finished his, that she would not take her bath until he had finished his, and that she was always very much attached to him, so much so that if he would sometimes become angry and chastise her, she would simply remain silent and tolerate his misbehavior. You know, so how you can conquer the other person? They say this in our culture, it's always there. The woman is very soft, very bearing. The husband, they show all movies, right? The husband is a drunkard, he will do this, that, everything. But the women will be so nice. Oh, you, Prabhuji, you are so great, you know, like that. Then there's transformation in the heart of the man, and then she controls him, and all the story. So this is all there. You can read these purports. See, submissive, mild behavior and subservience are qualities of a wife which makes a husband very thoughtful of her. So they say also, no, you behave nicely with your husband. You know, that way you can conquer him. You know, behave nicely with your in-laws. That way they are also becoming your servants. You know, these things. That's good. In way, you know, someone has to adjust so that you conquer and manage the house nicely. So, but the problem here is, Prabhupada says, otherwise if a husband is too much attached to his wife, he becomes a woman in his next life. A woman being overly attached to her husband becomes a man in her next life. So this is going on, that thing. So you need to be, while we are all there, but we need to be mindful that this is not the only purpose of life. We need to be good husbands, good wives, good children, good everything, good citizen. But if we think this is my only purpose in life, then there's a problem. One needs to be mindful. This is my duty, I am doing, I am caring for my children, I am really loving. But I also know I am a soul, the other person is a soul. I should help myself, I should help everyone else get back to Godhead. That is important. King Puranjana continued thinking how, when he was in a state of bewilderment, his wife would give him good counsel, and how she would become aggrieved when he was away from home. Although she was the mother of so many sons and heroes, the king still feared that she would not be able to maintain the responsibility of household affairs. Here, she has got many wonderful sons, very powerful sons. They will take care. Why you are worried? But the guy is worried. Okay, we'll go to the next one. There's a lot of things Prabhupada has written here. King Puranjana continued worrying. After I pass from this world, how will my sons and daughters who are now fully dependent on me live and continue their lives? Their position will be similar to that of a passengers aboard a ship wrecked in the midst of the ocean. You are worried about them, but what about you? You are going to leave now. No, where are you going? Do you know? What happens immediately after death? You know. What all you are going to face after that? You know. Nothing. I am not worried about that. Now at least I should start thinking and worrying. Oh, I should think, Krishna, please protect me. No. I will think about these people who are already well settled. What is the problem? Next. Although King Puranjana should not have lamented over the fate of his wife and children, he nonetheless did so due to his miserly intelligence. In the meantime, Yavana Raja, whose name was Fear itself, immediately drew near to arrest him. So Prabhupada is quoting Janma Karma Chame Divyam Yevam Yoveti Tattvataha Tiktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti So Arjuna. So, one who knows the transcendental nature of appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attain my eternal abode, Arjuna. So, the idea is that when we leave our body, instead of thinking about all these things, one should simply resign our thoughts and come to this consciousness of Janma Karma Chame Divyam, about Krishna's birth, appearance, pastimes, his name, fame, glories. One should think about this. Then he says, you go back to the spiritual world, never to come back for this temporary body once more. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. He comes back to my spiritual abode, he is saying. So one can actually conquer Krishna and the spiritual world by actually surrendering to Krishna. When the Yavanas were taking King Puranjana away to their place, binding him like an animal, the king's followers became greatly aggrieved. While they lamented, they were forced to go along with him. This is where king's followers here are the other bodily, whatever, the subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence and false ego. So, the soul is being pulled away, and this mind, intelligence and false ego, they are actually going along with that body. There they are going to the court of judgment, and Yamaraja decides what kind of body is going to get next. That's Prabhupada is writing that. Although the gross material body is left, the living entity and his desires, as well as the resultant reactions of his past activities, go on. It is Yamaraja who decides what kind of body one gets next in accordance with one's past actions. The serpent, who had already been arrested by the soldiers of Yavana Raja and was out of the city, began to follow his master along with the others. As soon as they all left the city, it was immediately dismantled and smashed to dust. The body, which is basically made of 5 elements, the soul is left the body, then the body is smashed to dust. Either you bury it or you burn it, whatever, it's all becoming dust at the end of the day. Prabhupada is quoting one verse from Bhagavatam 10:84-13. A human being who identifies this body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kingsmen, who considers the land of birth worshipable, and who goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge there, is to be considered like an ass or a cow. Gokaraha. Next. When King Puranjana was being dragged with great force by the powerful Yavana out of his gross ignorance, he still could not remember his friend and well-wisher, the super soul. So at that time, we are not able to remember because I was so much engrossed in my material connections, not with any spiritual connections. And Prabhupada is quoting, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Sugradam Sarva Bhuthanam Jnatva Mam Santi Mruchati. So he is saying there are three things one should remember. That the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer of all living entities. Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. Next is Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that he is the proprietor of everything. Everything means A to Z. He is Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Then Sugradam Sarva Bhutanam, that he is the well-wisher of all living entities. These three things one should remember. If you remember these three things, then Jnatva Mam Shanti Mruchati. At that stage you attain peace. In other words, you go back to Godhead. Because he is sitting in everyone's heart as Ishvaraha Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshu Arjuna Tishtati. 18.61. And that is my ultimate goal. He is always with me, and ultimately I need to be united with him. United means not merge with him, but be in his company ultimately. But I am not worried about that. And there are some nice things actually is mentioned. We will talk about that also. I will take maybe 10-15 minutes more. Please forgive me. That most unkind king Puranjana had killed many animals in various sacrifices. Now taking advantage of this opportunity, all these animals began to pierce him with their horns. It was as though he were being cut to pieces by axes. So you remember this, he was doing like here, Prachina Bharishat also was doing all these pious activities. And this Puranjana is basically an imaginary character representing Prachina Bharishat that we already discussed. Therefore, this Prachina Bharishat was fully involved in all the religious activities, killing so many animals for sacrifice. In the beginning, you would have seen that Narada Muni actually showed this Prachina Bharishat. See there, all these animals are waiting for you kind of thing. He showed all these animals which he killed during the thing. That, in fact, I remember taking that section of that thing. So now that is what is coming here. So these animals are waiting for this Puranjana when he is going. They are waiting to pierce him with his horns. And Prabhupada writes this thing. The word mamsa. Mamsa means what? It's a Sanskrit word. We all refer to meat as mamsa. Mamsa means mam saha. That means this is actually a word to indicate an agreement that me will become saha, you. So we are giving a contract. I am killing you now for your meat, but I am giving you a contract that tomorrow I will become meat and you can eat me. So this is the thing. Mam saha means agreement. What agreement? I am eating you today, tomorrow you can eat me. So one should be very careful, either for sacrifice or for simply sense gratification. One should not even indulge in killing animals. Prabhupada is writing it. Everyone should be given freedom to live at the cost of the Supreme Father, and animal killing either for religion or for food is always condemned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Next we are into 27th verse. Due to this contaminated association with women, a living entity like King Puranjana eternally suffers all the pangs of material existence and remain in the dark region of material life, bereft of all remembrance for many, many years. Contaminated association means all living entities with whatever material. Contamination means it is not physical contamination, right? I mean, it's not like any. That's not what is meant. Contamination means material contamination. We say now we purify our consciousness. That purification is against this contamination of material existence. So that is what is meant. So for both parties, for men attached with women is a problem, women attached with men, because that is the highest. It's not only about man and women. Man with some gold, man with house, man with thing, women with gold, women with house, everything is all the same. But when we talk specifically about women or sometimes man and all that, that meaning is this is the highest attachment one can have, right? But in between that there are so many things, but everything is related. You can replace the word with women with all this gold, silver, money, stocks, whatever you can say. So it's not about a gender, it is about our association with the matter, and whichever is more attractive to us is being referred to here. That's it. Next. King Puranjana gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently in his next life he became a very beautiful and well situated woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidurba in the very house of the king. So after this he was given a new body, and that body was a woman. So he was so attached to his wife, and therefore he got a woman's body. So Prabhupada is quoting this Bhagavad Gita, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tirjanti ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. Earlier also he quoted this. So here whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. This is Bhagavad Gita, like that. So he was thinking of his wife, this practically he got the body of a wife. But here that concept of Prabhupada is talking, like if you take to bhakti, then you may not complete, I discussed this earlier, you may not complete it in this life, but still you get a chance to take a body which is favorable for devotional life. You are either born in the family of a rich man, aristocratic man family, or in a Brahmin family, or a devotee family. Brahmin means one who is a devotee, right? Who knows about Brahma Jnana. Then you are continuing your journey. So the unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planet of the pious living entities, is born into the family of righteous people or into family of rich aristocracy. These are all there in Bhagavad Gita. So you are born like that and you can continue the journey. But if you are simply thinking material things, you keep on coming back with in relation to that material thing which you are thinking. Next. It was fixed that Vaidarbi, Vidurba's daughter, this Puranjana now become Vaidarbi, daughter of King Vidurba, was to be married to a very powerful man, Malaya Vaja, an inhabitant of the Pandu country. After conquering other princes, he married the daughter of King Vidurba. So that is history. History means in this is imaginary history, but still it is. Then he says, King Malayadwaja fathered one daughter who had very black eyes. He also had 7 sons who later became rulers of that tract of land known as Dravida. Thus there were 7 kings in that land. So this is very important. This daughter had black eyes. What does that mean? It symbolically means she is always conscious of that black guy. Who is that black guy? Krishna. So that is important. So similarly, he had 7 sons, great personalities. Who are these 7 sons? So Prabhupada is explaining, you all know there are 9 processes of devotional service. What are they? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Sevanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, like this. But we know there are 9 processes of devotional service, but why 7 is being talked here? That is very nice. This is important to know. So of the 9 devotional process, everyone should be more focused on the first 7. Then what are the 2 I have missed out here? One is Sakyam, one is Atma Nivedana. those two are not part of this, what you call, sadhana stage. So Prabhupada is explaining there are two types of devotion, right? Or what do you call? He writes here or somewhere else. He writes that's why.
Raganuga Prabhu, why?
Raganubhava, yeah, correct. Vidhi Marga and Raga Marga. No? So we are all following the Vidhi Marga in the sense you are in the regulative principles. When you are in Vidhi Marga, regulative principles, you don't talk about this Sakya and Atma Nivedanam. That is for people who have attained that stage of, I don't know, maybe the last few stages, that Bhava and Prema, all that. So he is talking, so that is for Acharyas, and Prabhupada explains Acharyas are actually in that Bhava, that means Raga Marga. So they say, if you are in that stage, you don't need to simply attend Mangalarti, you don't have to do anything. Prabhupada did still. He did not, he was in that stage, but he didn't want to show, make other things over the, things. So he did, but he was not required to do, attend all these things, That is not for that, because they are spontaneous. Raganuga Bhakti means they are spontaneous. They are already in that state where they naturally work for Krishna. You don't have to artificially do. For us it is artificial. I need to be forced. I need to be told, Prabhu has to call me. Prabhu, it's already 6:30, 6:45. Where are you? Oh Prabhu, I'm coming. Wait. We are not in that spontaneous thing. I am forced to act. But they are always eager. They are there at 4:40. Waiting, where are the devotees? I want to speak about Krishna. So this is important. So Raganuga is very important, and therefore the Sakya, artificially we cannot think I am friend of Krishna, I will put my hand in Krishna. We are always in that Smaranam, Kirtanam, what do you call, hearing, Kirtan, then Smaranam, then Sevanam, serving the Lord in different ways. This is all very important. This is very nicely explained. You can read this section very nicely. Very important. Okay, now. And he is saying a neophyte devotee cannot actually become a preacher. Very important. So only those people who are in that, the last two, Sakyam and Atma Nivedanam, can become great preachers. So Prabhupada is quoting Acharyas. He is saying, this is Dravida, it's saying, he is born in the land of Dravida. He is actually saying that place is basically the south portion of India, and he is talking about Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, all these great personalities. They are all in that Sakya, Bhava and, Sakyam and Atma Nivedanam. They are preachers, really preachers. We can't call I am a preacher. No, we call preacher because we are simply messengers of Prabhupada. We are repeating what Prabhupada says. We don't have the capacity to talk myself, I am now Vidura Madhava, I will speak all these realized things. No, I don't have capacity. That is why Prabhupada says, you only do preach what I have written in my books. Don't try to act yourself with your own speculative knowledge. No. Then I am useless. I should stick to what Prabhupada is saying. Then I am simply being a messenger. It's like that lamp post, right? It is carrying electricity, but it is not generating electricity. We are just acting as pillars to move that electricity further. So, real preacher is in that state, but others are all not at that state, so they simply have to repeat what the real preacher who's in that state, like Prabhupada, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, they are saying. This is what I was saying, this is very important, we need to discuss. So that we have done. Next we are going to last one or two verses. My dear King, Prachina Barhishat, the sons of Malya Dvaja gave birth to many thousands and thousands of sons, and all of these have been protecting the entire world up to the end of one of Manu's lifespan and even afterwards. So okay, this is now going on like this. So I will stop here. I think the next one goes into the phase where subsequently how his life goes. So the next devotee can cover from 30 to 33. It's all the same. So what is that? If I see the next one also, continuity wise. The one next one says, the great sage named Agastya married the firstborn daughter of Malyadwaja, the awarded devotee of Lord Krishna. From her, one son was born whose name was Dridachyuta, and from him another son was born whose name was Idamavaha. So all these things we can see is all history in a way, and they are also representing what that we will see. So I will end here. If there are any questions or comments, welcome. Hare Krishna. I know it has been very, what do you call, you can say, no, very pessimistic class. Talking about death, always saying all the, oh, this will happen, that will happen, you be careful, this will happen. Very pessimistic class, if you want to say that from a materialist perspective. But if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, this is the best thing that we can hear, right? The art of dying. It's not about the art of living. Yes, we all know, we are already expert in art of living, but how do we die? That is important. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Dandavad Pranam.
Pranam. Thank you. Actually, I found it very hilarious because of the reference to ourselves. I found it very hilarious at every sloka that was read out today by you, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Thank you very much. I found it very, very interesting, and I found it more hilarious as you were saying throughout the sloka. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Sorry,
Thanks.
this
Thanks.
is my
No,
thinking.
nice,
I may
nice.
be wrong,
Actually,
actually.
this is how it is. See, Narada chose this method to say it, that sometimes this is this very clearly, right? This Prachina Bharishit is a real man. But if you tell me like, no, Vidura Madhava, you did this wrong, I will get angry. Hey, who are you to tell me? But if he creates an imaginary person and says to me that this person did like that, this person did like that, I will think, yeah, he should not have done it, is wrong. Then if I know it is me only he is saying, then it's easy for me to accept. So Narada Muni was very, very smart. So without hurting the ego, he is telling. So now you and I are actually seeing this is very hilarious, but actually it is talking about us, no?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
in that process we get some, I need to refine, I need to be careful. We learn without getting abusive at Narada Muni. So nice
Absolutely,
realization.
Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Dhanyavad.
Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavad
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
All throughout Bhagavatam, I've realized, like, I have not read the whole thing, but whatever I'm listening to and reading, it's Narada who has been guiding everybody,
Yes.
right from Prahlad to Dhruva to Prachin Bharita to everybody. So why are we not having? Of course, we do pray for Narada, and we should pray to him also, no, Prabhuji, to guide us in our prayers. We are not including him, or I do say Narad Maharaj ki jai.
Yes. So, yes.
Sorry, Narad Muni ki
So,
jai. I say Narad Muni ki jai in my prayers.
hmm.
But I have not seen officially having, people who are or offering obeisances to Narad Muni, or because
Yes.
everywhere you see, it's he only who has done lot of service to all our, whatever devotees,
Yes. So
Mahatmas.
yes, that's a good question. So the fact remains, like, so when we are reading, we are all the time glorifying Narada Muni, right? So that is there. So now if you have to say, okay, can I now therefore start in our list of, when we say, no, one by one, Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Maharani ki jai, you can keep adding so many things. But then there is no end in that sense, right? For example, if you see when we are saying this, the original thing, after I think Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakti Vranja ki jai, there when we say, Prabhupada added Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavananda ki jai, Prabhu.
After Ananta Koti Vaishnavananda ki jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. So that is an added. that is added after the normal whatever verse was there. Then Prabhupada added this after Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. So now your point is, why not add Narada Muni ki jai? So this can keep on going. But if you really see, so practically yes, what you say is correct. But in terms of the how we can manage all these things, someone else will say, okay, why not we add this, why not we add that? Therefore, how we see it is Prabhupada is very, very respectful to Narada Muni. He says, no, he is our guru ultimately. But then we have only the 5 gurus in our altar in top. That means the previous parampara. You can go on having the full list of things. There won't be size for the altar at all. Everybody understands this. And in one sense, your spiritual master's body includes Narada Muni, includes all the other spiritual masters. So in one sense, if you say, if you are able to pay obeisances to your spiritual master, right from, why Narada, then before Narada, Vyasa was there. No, Vyasa only gave all this. Narada Muni is only repeating what Vyasadeva said. So there's no end to. Narada Muni is also Krishna. You are worshipping Krishna. Narada Muni is also an expansion in that sense. So then you can pay obeisances to all the incarnations of the Lord. So there has to be some this one. So no bad intent. But this is the reason. Sometimes we are feeling, that day I was hearing, see, when we see Narasimha's appearance day is coming, we become very enthused. So we take Narasimha, they become our Ishta Bhagwan, right? Then next another festival, we get Balram Jayanti. We feel Balram is the most important. So we all Balram ki jai, Balram ki jai. Then Radharani's appearance comes, Radharani ki jai, we start dancing. So at that point in time, we are inspired by that incarnation or by that devotee of the Lord. Ultimately, it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have limited number of scope to say. We can say, of course, Prabhupada never said. There was one occasion, I will take one more minute to explain. Once Prabhupada was giving a lecture. He was leading a kirtan. There were many people there sitting there. Suddenly, Prabhupada started singing some other song, and people were like, you are doing Hare Krishna, it's going very in a jubilant manner, it's going on Hare Krishna kirtan. Suddenly Prabhupada stopped that and he went into some other song. Everybody was surprised. And Prabhupada, very big voice, like all these things coming out, he started praying. And then they were all suddenly shocked and they just immediately stood silent like that. After some time, Prabhupada came back to his senses and then said, why you suddenly did this? He said, Narada Muni was here, did you not see? I was singing Pranam mantra for Narada Muni, like that he was saying. And in another place, in one of the temples in Europe, Prabhupada had this altar. Not altar, Vyasasan. Where they made a very beautiful altar for Prabhupada. Prabhupada sat in that Vyasasan and gave a wonderful class. He was very happy to see this altar was so nice. Then he called who made this altar. They said, this devotee made this altar. Then he said, you make 2 more of these altars. Why? He said, in this place, when Bhagavatam is going on, when he says, Brahma was there and Narada Muni was there. So next time, when they come, they should get an altar like how I am getting. So you make 2 altars, 2 asanas. So there are 2 more asanas kept in that temple like that, I believe. So this is something which I have heard in the following Prabhupada. One of the devotees mentioned this, one of his disciples mentioned this. So it's not like Narada Muni is not given importance. So much so that in one of the temples we have a Vyasasana for Narada Muni. So that should please you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. And just wanted to share that wherever, like how I'm not talking from my own knowledge. It's just that I listen to many lectures, maybe Ramayana also in SVBC. So it said that wherever Ramayana is being spoken of, Hanuman is there.
Yes.
So it's also I heard that wherever Bhagavatam is being spoken of, Krishna is there.
Yes.
So definitely, I think all the parampara is also listening, Prabhuji.
Yes.
So let us feel that holy presence.
No doubt.
Yes.
See, sometimes we think, we are giving class and all that. It's not us speaking. Whoever preacher, that parampara is behind you.
Yes, the whole
Their
parampara
inspiration is coming. Sometimes we say things which I never even planned. So you think, how come that, this pastime was never in my head to talk about, it comes. But we can always think it is not just our ability or whatever, it is the parampara who is helping to preach nicely. Right? So this is something which we should be mindful of, that we are not alone. When you are preaching, be it whoever, you may be a great scriptural studied person, but your intent is to just preach to people. Krishna empowers, the parampara empowers us.
Yes, Prabhu.
Realization.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhu.
Hare
I just
Krishna.
wanted to add, I wanted to add that as you mentioned parampara, it is like a backbone to the structure, Prabhu. Without the backbone, the structure doesn't exist, actually. It collapses. So the
Yes.
parampara is more like a backbone, actually, Prabhu. Hare
Absolutely.
Krishna. Sorry.
Absolutely. As you said, if that is not followed, then it becomes useless. This 1.5 hours is a waste of time if I am talking out of my hat. Parampara is what gives that power for all of you to become devotees. So this is very important. What you are realizing is good. Thank you, Prabhu, for that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much. Very wonderful and a very powerful story today. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Kanatra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.